Later that night, it all ended.
Hey guys, and welcome to the final day of Pikmin 3. Louie's become too powerful. No, we're going to the Formidable Oak.
It's only a matter of time.
It's only a matter of time. So now that we've gathered every single piece of fruit on Earth apparently, or at least as far as the cope pad can detect, we actually can now go ahead and go to the Formidable Oak. We've unlocked this area days before. For me, since we're trying to go for the best ending, we got all the fruits. Now we just need to go there to see if Olimar has our cosmic key drive.
I like to think we found literally every fruit on the planet. This planet is dying.
Well, that could be an interesting thing for 4, where it's just like you come back and the planet's just horrified and on the brink of extinction. Because they do mention that, like, what if we have another food shortage and, like, there is no PNF 404 or something? What if this is just the only planet that does this, that has fruits?
What were those huge things in the back? I don't recognize that fruit. Or that plant.
I can at least say the one on the top right is a cactus. At least in the background.
Thank God you're here.
So, the Formidable Oak. For this particular map, we're gonna go and get 20 of each type. Unfortunately, I only have 19 rock Pikmin, but that's okay. We can make it up with just having an extra in a different color. The Formidable Oak, aside from finding plenty of data files from Olimar, has a bit of a mystery to it, as on top of a strange atmospheric feel to it. I feel like it's still not as atmospherically strong as in 1, but I say compared to the other maps, there's certainly a disturbing feeling to this area.
Maybe it's because Olimar's being caressed by living gold.
Yeah, in a very strange way.
So is this at all related to the Plasma Wraith from the second game? Has anyone said so?
Well, I don't know if it's related to the ones in the previous game, but they are certainly at least from the same family, because that is in fact a Plasma Wraith. But it's certainly different. This particular creature is actually a little interesting, and we'll talk more about it when the time comes. But for now, we're gonna go and save Olimar really quick. And, we're gonna drag him around very disrespectfully.
Scraping his ass.
Just leaving sparks on the ground.
We were mean to Louie, it's only fair we do it to Olimar.
Yeah. So the reason why the pink Pikmin are freaking out is because they don't actually know where to take him, because there's no clear route, even though they have wings that they can just fly up things. In this particular case, we can't ride the geyser that's nearby, or climb over the little ledge we just dropped down from. So, naturally, of course, we're gonna have to actually go inside the Formidable Oak itself.
It did look more like a wasp hive.
Yeah. The, Formidable Oak is basically gonna be like a marathon sort of area that you have to clear. There's gonna be a bunch of puzzles, a bunch of enemies. Our goal is going to be to drag Olimar back to the SS Drake. Brittany is going to be taking charge of leading whichever Pikmin is currently carrying Olimar, so she's going to be our marker. This is the only time something like this actually happens in the series, and I think it's pretty interesting. As well as that,
Geometric shapes and amorphous blobs, together at last.
this, believe it or not, actually is the Wraith. The Wraith that we just saw. So, for whatever strange reason, this creature is drawn to Olimar.
I mean, aren't we all?
I mean, he's dad of the galaxy. I wish he was my dad. Don't tell my real dad I said that. But anyway, it's interesting mainly because there's something that's drawing the creature to Olimar. I end up accidentally dropping him. Get ready to drop Olimar a lot, by the way.
It would just be easier to switch to Brittany and then call everyone.
Yeah, the reason why even doing that is sometimes kind of a struggle is because sometimes when you want to switch to a character, at least in that particular instance, when you want to whistle for the rest of your party, sometimes the Pikmin that are dragging Olimar see that, oh, we got called, so we drop what we're doing immediately. What I did right here is just a quick little trick to get this shopping bag down. You're actually not supposed to do it like that, but I figured since I had the yellow Pikmin, I could just go ahead and show that off.
The ledge is right there.
Yeah, the ledge is right there. It's actually very not difficult to pull off. It gets a little annoying trying to gather Olimar when you can, because sometimes you're just trying to whistle for some of your other Pikmin, and then the ones that are carrying him, they go to you instead. And sometimes when you're just dismissing them like that, they just end up being stationary and sometimes you just want to whistle just the captain, but you end up whistling everything else because of the radius. So pushing down the shopping bag basically grants me some extra time, because the goal is that we're trying to keep the Wraith away from Olimar. It is absolutely possible to fail this, because if the Wraith captures Olimar, you have an opportunity to go and chase it to go rescue him back. There were 2 holes that we saw when we were actually like near the shopping bag. If the Plasm Wraith escapes with Olimar outside of one of those holes, the day automatically ends and you have to come back here the next day. So you don't want to do that.
I don't think that happened to me, but this thing is difficult enough that it took me at least 2 days, maybe 3.
Yeah, it took me 2 in-game days my first try too, because honestly, like, there's a lot of things that you're just not going to be prepared for. On top of this, like, I throw Brittany over here after finishing half of the bridge, so that way we can avoid having to build the entire bridge, since she has the flag going on. Another creepy thing, adding to the atmosphere aspect, is we get to see plenty of other data entries from Olimar. Honestly, I would say that this is probably the first time in the whole game where I actually feel kind of disturbed being here.
The shiny thing took a shine to me.
I positioned Alpha just correctly enough so that way when I whistle for him, I can just have him and the squad walk over, so when we transition to the next area, I just have the entire squad with me. That's why I didn't finish building the bridge. What you would have to do is find the other bridge pieces and then complete that.
I mean, you named them Olimar, didn't you? You could name them something better.
Big Dandelions, got it.
Luminous Stemples. Dimpular Protoplasts.
Sad Bottom.
Crying Ass.
Tearful Smile. We get the yellow Pikmin to light up the area because it's pretty dark. This is the area where I suggest trying to clear as much as you can to a point. There are bridge pieces, but if you saw when the Plasm Wraith was behind us, there is a good chance that some of your Pikmin can actually get taken inside. And the thing is, when it's in its liquid state, you can't attack it. Only your blue Pikmin will survive, but the rest of your Pikmin will basically be suffocating and you can't whistle them out or save them with other blue Pikmin. So what I do ahead of time is I knock down the dirt wall and I wait for the Plasm Wraith to get closer. Where the bridge pieces are going to go require the path that it's currently on, so they would basically be building to their deaths, essentially. So I purposefully drop Olimar here so that way it can have him.
And then it can have it, as you kick its ass.
Yeah.
Daddy, shit.
Yeah, that's pretty morbid, and that really sucks, because if some of your Pikmin are in there, they automatically die. But thankfully, shaking them off is not too hard. This basically gives you an insight of what this thing is capable of. It's capable of making these little cubes that have elemental aspects to it. In a couple of my takes, the one I saw the most was electricity, but that time I got fire. So while this thing is currently in its regenerative process, we're gonna go ahead and try to get those bridge pieces as quick as we can. Because those aren't the only ones that we need to build, there's more up in front. The worst thing that could possibly happen is if you're, let's say you're ahead and you're building all the bridge pieces and then you notice that the bridge isn't done, and then you find the Plasm Wraith, because it's capable of scaling walls too, by the way.
Oh, great.
And cutting through parts of the map. Sometimes you will actually see your Pikmin, you're like half your squad is just in there, and they are doomed. There is nothing you can do. So this thing really is a piece of shit to try to get away from. So I regret not leaving somebody here sooner, because of that, I ended up losing a few. It's okay, the guy is slow enough that I can just keep running. One of the strategies I tried doing to try to negate this was to try to have, like, Brittany have Olimar stay in, like, a little pond or something, but unfortunately it didn't work out at all. What he ends up doing is just basically crawling around the area in a circular fashion, and that still interrupts when you're trying to build bridge pieces, so it could end up biting you in the ass anyway, so you can't just plop Brittany somewhere. The best strategy I found is the one that I just used, but also just, honestly, just keep running around in a circle. So now that we have that second battery ready to go, by the way, top priority for your Pikmin is going to be pink and yellow, because you absolutely need to light this place up. Now that we have that, we're going to go ahead and throw Alpha over here, as well as set up our other yellow Pikmin, and start making our way towards the first set of flowers that we grew when we got here.
Too bad the thing doesn't have eyes.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose if given the chance, it could grow them.
If you waited a week.
Yeah. This data entry is probably the most morbid to me. Olimar came here with an entire squad of Pikmin and he lost all of them. He's been trapped ever since. The first data entry ended up saying that Louis didn't want to go, so he was just like, no, we're not going in there, but Olimar, because they really wanted to push the treasure hunting aspect, said, no, there's riches in there, we can go. This is for my family.
This is for that fat idiot.
I'll ruin my life for the president. He might pay me this time. So, this is me cutting it really close. Because I keep looking at the pic and switching camera angles like, But we pulled through. Unfortunately, one of my pink Pikmin fell into the lake under it. So I just went, screw it. I started heading for the actual exit this way. Keep track of my squad number, by the way. Have to wait patiently, and now it's considered successful. He kind of hit the floor there, but he's okay. So, the rest of my squad that wasn't necessarily with me ended up being consumed by him anyway. Not because the game said so, it was because at one point some of my Pikmin got in there and I didn't notice. So the Plasm Wraith. This is the final boss, and I will say that while I do find Meyerklop to be the hardest, this one is by far the most obnoxious.
It's a very long fight no matter what you do.
Yeah, like, even speedruns for this basically amount to a lot of just spamming. There are some strategies you can use, but for the most part, you're basically seeing the best strategy of, hey, get a bunch of Pikmin, use your spicy spray, and attack. Only other thing I can say, other than trying to clear up the little balls there, which it's gonna start doing, it's gonna start using all of its elementals. If you remember the final boss in Pikmin 2, where it had all these elemental weapons, this is basically this game's way of doing it, but in a way more annoying fashion. Because every time you end up attacking one of the little spears or the cubes, it leaves behind more of its residue. And the way for you to actually, like, stop it from regenerating is to keep smashing it and pounding it into non-existence.
Yeah, you want to attack the residue, mostly. Because what you're trying to do, it doesn't have health so much as just a big shield. And that residue is the shield, so the more that you can destroy, then you can finally wear it down.
Yeah. Prepare to... Basically, my number one advice for this, other than come with a whole bunch of Pikmin and a bunch of Ultra Spray, prepare to die. As morbid as that sounds, I literally mean, like, you are gonna lose a lot of your Pikmin. It is possible to do this fight without losing any Pikmin. I was not willing to put in the time to do that because this fight is already annoying enough, as well as me not having that much time to work with in the first place.
One thing you could do is just come here with a lot of rocks, because they can't be stabbed like he was doing there. And they'll survive the others as long as you call them.
That is true. You can actually do that. The only reason why I end up not doing that is because of my time.
And you only had 19.
Yeah, I only had 19.
And like half of them were dead already.
Yeah, so that was totally my bad. On top of that, I was trying to clear this fight in one day because it is absolutely possible that, despite everything, you are not going to finish this fight, because I had a take where, in mid-fight, they just walked back to the SS Drake like nothing happened. They were like, go, go, go! Well, guys, we did it. We had a pretty hard day's work. It's probably painfully obvious, but the red Pikmin work for the fire element cube. The glass, you need to use your rock Pikmin to break it. The water bubbles require the blue Pikmin. The electricity require the yellow Pikmin, and there is no winged, like, status ailment or anything. Them being winged Pikmin is already broken enough, as we've proven. This fight also can get a little annoying, because on top of you having a large squad that's being under attack, you constantly getting knocked on your back, on top of the lag that you're gonna get, because so much is happening at once, can also be pretty annoying. I hate to say that this is basically one of my best fights I ever had with this thing. And also, I locked onto the Wraith in order to, like, knock it down, because that's the one strategy I can say that works really well. When it takes up to the sky and you command your wing Pikmin to attack it, they always knock it down. But unfortunately, because I was next to the water bubble, they ended up going in there instead, so I ended up losing a whole bunch. But by this point, I figured, you know what? We're running out of time. I'm gonna go charge it now. It doesn't have much health. I'm gonna murder this thing. And thankfully, I managed to pull it off.
Beating this whole thing in one day in any capacity is a success.
Yeah, in my eyes, even though I lost a whole bunch of pink, I already had a bunch of pink, and I was prepared to die for this fight. And that is how we save Olimar, and he can wake up from his Pikmin 1 Let's Play, dream sequence.
Man, if only I did it in 6 days.
That's why this happened to me.
Excuse me.
So now we have a meeting of all of our pilots.
Why did you?
Except the president, because he doesn't matter. Thanks for saving Louis. Also, why?
Thank God I didn't give you a bottle cap.
Can you imagine all that work? You don't have the cosmic drive key? But what now?
Oh, the toothpick. No, not anymore.
No. I used it and broke it. So it seems like the cosmic drive key is the reason why the Plasm Wraith was on Olimar so often. And we still can't trust Louis, so we have him tied up. For the galaxy's sake.
I hope he's fired when they get home.
I hope he gets another job and that's a spin-off game.
Louis actively inhibited the rescue of an entire planet. A firing is the least that he deserves.
Yeah.
Daddy!
But knowing the president of the company, they'll be like, well, I mean, nobody else wants to work for me, so congratulations, Louis. You're vice president.
I want a loan from you now.
So, with the mission successful, the Copites take Olimar and Louis, and they decide to give them a ride because their ship is done, and Hokitate is also apparently on the way to Copite. So it all worked out in the end.
And then the planet explodes.
I wouldn't be surprised. People at home are waiting for us. Olimar and his family, our trio and their planet, Louis himself.
His aunt, whoever that was.
I guess his grandma that made him eat bugs. Which is canon.
And so the intrepid explorer successfully...
And so...
He seems annoyed.
A bountiful supply of edible matter and
I love how
learning
sarcastic he
valuable
says
lessons
these
of
words.
Planning and teamwork. The explorers are set to become
Do you think he was
the saviors
directed to
of
do
the
this? Or he was like, I'm gonna do a silly take, and then they were like, no, that's better.
Under their guidance,
I think he might have been directed to just use like a cool space narrator voice. But, you know, just have fun with it.
Cool space narrator voice? Alright, fuckers. Planning and teamwork.
One question remains.
Because they really
What was the
cared about
cause of the
their
accident that sent
families.
SS Drake hurtling to PNF 404 surface? Perhaps it wasn't an accident after all.
I do kind of like that, because, yeah, everyone crashes here every time they come here. What if there was, like, an actual reason behind it?
Yeah, interestingly enough, you only get that answer if you get the best ending.
You only get the question.
Yeah, you only get the question of, like, maybe we didn't crash here on accident after all. Because it's true, we never really did figure out what caused that crash. Because their ship basically imploded before they crash landed. And they all got shot out. So, while we're in this current credits sequence, I just want to say, thank you, Thorn, for being with me for this trip of Pikmin 3. And also thank you all for watching, and I'm sorry that if you waited so many years for me to do Pikmin 3, and it wasn't until the year 2019 that I finally got to it.
Later that night, you were welcome.
So, while we're enjoying this cutesy little cutscene, interesting thing. When you beat the game, and you go back to story mode, every time you clear a day, there's like a specific message that you get only on your gamepad. On the gamepad, after you beat it, what it actually says is that like, yeah, you know, our mission is successful, but for some strange reason, we don't know where Louis went. And apparently, Alf mentions, it seems like we left Louis behind on the planet again. So, even though we saved him, even though we got Olimar, even though we all got on the ship, Louis, canonically, is left behind. So that's sequel hook number 1. Sequel hook number 2, we also get the message saying, like, perhaps it wasn't an accident after all because we don't actually know what caused the crash. And there's plenty of theories of people speculating that perhaps it could have been the Plasm Wraith itself, since it has attributes that none of the other Wraiths had, as well as any other creature. That being said, I greatly enjoy Pikmin 3, and it was absolutely way worth the wait. Still think Pikmin 2 is a little better, but I'm looking forward to whenever Pikmin 4 comes out, since they said they would do it. Miyamoto says they're working on it. I guess we'll see it on the Switch in the year 2022.
I think the blues conducting them as they sing.
Yeah, it's really cute. This is a cute little, hey, thanks for putting up with some of our BS.
And it lands on Louis.
In the distance, Louis.
Louis.
Birds start flying.
The end.
Question mark? No, it's just the end.
And then the planet explodes. I was right.
Yeah, that happened. Well, Louis got left behind. So.
Another mass extinction level meteor hits the planet. And now dinosaurs show up, and that's Pikmin 4. Control the dinosaurs.
Dinosaurs show up, and then Star Fox Adventures begin.
It was Saria the whole time.
So there's a grand total of 66 different fruits that we can actually look at.
What a weird number.
Yeah, and there's my very first playthrough many years ago. 15 days is not bad at all, to be honest.
Almost 1,000.
Yeah, almost 1,000 Pikmin I made, and 28 days it took me. It was shown for like a brief second, but the Plasm Wraith survived. It's still alive when the SS Drake took off.
You can actually see its remains skittering away when you rescue Olimar.
Uh-huh. So that thing is not dead at all. Its existence is still a mystery, because the first two final bosses absolutely died. But this thing just managed to come back, so presumably when they have to crash land on this planet, that could be the reason why they crashed, or it could do it again. As for why, who knows?
I just hope they make it less BS to fight in the next game if it comes back.
Yeah. It's not that it's difficult, it just feels like too much shit is happening at once.
Yeah.
It feels like they try to make a super boss. It kind of didn't work out, but I still feel like it's not the worst. Like the Meyerklops, it's a hard fight, but I feel like I'm in control of it, where with the Plasm Wraith, it just seems like, well, whatever happens, happens.
What would be amazing for the next game is if there's one human that's alive, and that's the final boss, but to fight it, you possess the Plasm Wraith. And you just poke at his eyes.
We just beat up a gardener.
Where was he the last 3 games?
Well, he's the one who was behind those machines in Pikmin 2, you know, the Gatling Groink and the Man-at legs.
Yeah, because I don't know if this was, like, confirmed anywhere, but this is, like, what everyone who played the game has collectively agreed on, that this is Earth, but it's after all the humans have gone extinct. But everything of theirs that you find is pristine. Like, the batteries haven't burst, the toy shovel and bucket at the beach are perfectly clean. So, if they died, it's like a neutron bomb went off yesterday.
That is true, and it's also very sad. I mean, it would explain why we find, like, a cell phone that used to belong to somebody at some point.
It belonged to the ferret.
Well, yeah, you're right. Well, I mean, besides the ferret plotline, of course. I mean, like, other cell phones.
The cell phone plotline.
Maybe Alf was smart enough to, like, see, wow, they can make digital renderings here or something, but, like, he was able to at least detach parts of the cell phone and, like, expand the signal of the SS Drake. Who knows? There's a lot of things they can do in Pikmin. We just have to wait and see what Pikmin 4 is about. Maybe we'll find another new trio of pilots or something. Or maybe Planet Hokitate and Planet Kopite can just work together to keep each other alive or something. Since they're nearby each other, apparently.
I wonder what would happen if they got a scientist here who actually knew a thing or two about life, like a biologist, what their reaction would be. Because Brittany's a botanist, but that's only for plants, so she's useless when it comes to looking at the planet and thinking, did some macroorganism used to live here, like an intelligent one? Whereas if you got like a biologist or their version of an anthropologist or something, they could look at this planet and think there was some civilization here. And there would be some study into that, because Olimar is smart enough to recognize that there was some kind of civilization, but he can't read too much into it.
Yeah. And I will say for Olimar that he is at least capable of discovering attributes of different creatures and is able to figure out, oh yeah, this creature is part of this family, and this creature can do things nocturnally. So he's smart enough to see certain things. I imagine maybe Olimar could retire from being part of Hokitate Freight and maybe just go on to be a biologist. He'd probably have a better life.
He's already halfway there. If he turned in his journals from Pikmin 2, I'm sure he'd make a good buck.
Yeah. And in one of the Pikmin shorts, actually, an entire bulldozer gets deconstructed because of wacky shenanigans, but then when the ship identifies, like, how much all that is worth, 10,000. And then you just see these zeros endlessly go on and on and on. And it's like, Olimar, you are now the richest person in the galaxy. And it ends with him being like, yes! So, like, it ended positively for him. There's a lot going for Olimar. He's a great guy. I hope next game, like, we can play with him and all the other. I just want to be able to use all of the characters. Except the president, I don't care about him.
He doesn't care either.
Well, even though we finished everything we wanted to do with Pikmin, we're not done with outer space just yet.
That is true. So at the time of recording this, Star Fox 64 has gone completely public, and we're waiting until Pikmin 3 goes out before we start Yoshi's next Let's Play of Star Fox Adventures.
Yeah, Star Fox Adventures. This is actually another game that I've been wanting to do for years. Longer than Pikmin 3, actually, because, at the time Pikmin 3 didn't exist. It was just a pipe dream, but this is actually the very next game I was going to do. And now I'm glad to say that it's happening, and it's certainly something.
I mentioned to Yoshi before we started recording, him coming back full-time to the TheStrawhatNO is basically, we're doing all the LPs we said we would over the last 9 years, but never got around to.
I'm finally glad that I'm tackling my list. We already made a dinosaur joke, so that was your tip-off if you didn't know.
So that's going to have the same upload schedule as this and Pikmin 1, right? That's what you want to do?
Yeah, pretty much. It's still going to be 2 a week. At the time of recording this, I am making preparations to move to Minnesota. I'd like to get as many Star Fox parts as I can recorded in the meantime while I move, because I don't know when I'm going to have access to my internet, or when I'm going to be able to use my computer or have my own space. So I want to get as many videos that I can recorded, so that way there's just a bit of a buffer on the off chance that I can't just start commentating again. The only other thing I can really say is if you'd like to support me in this trying time, you can support me on my Patreon at patreon.com/MukiwaraYoshi. I basically use it as a tip jar. If you'd like to support in any way possible, any amount goes to helping me in my move, and just is a tip jar in general. And you'll always get Let's Plays regardless whether or not I get anything on my Patreon.
I think we can finally say later that night.
We can finally say later that night, you hopefully slept well. We don't know. I'm an insomniac. I don't even do that shit.
But Charlie didn't.
Later that night, the last thing Charlie heard as he lied his head on his pillow was, Louie.
But then he opened his eyes, and it was the duck. And the duck opened its mouth and went, Louie.
I was gonna say it just repeated what Louie It somehow it's even worse because its rubber mouth opened up and you saw a little hatch in its mouth.
And then Charlie woke up, stood straight up in his bed at home on Copite.
To which he petted the rubber duck, and then the mouth opened up, but instead Louie's face appeared inside the rubber duck.
And it went,
And he went, Olimar.
Charlie said Olimar.
Sure, why not?
And then Charlie woke up again. And he was still on the ship.
He woke up again and he was lying on his back in the distant tundra.
And then Pikmin 3 began.
Start from day one, kids. Have a good night.